Yo, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech,
And this is Nica Montford, aka Tech Savvy Diva.
and welcome back to another show of the Snob OS Show. I said show a bunch of times. The show for Apple snobs, where we talk all things Apple and then some. As you can tell, we got a lot going on this week, but nevertheless, that's not going to stop us from giving you another episode of this show. This is episode 224 of the Snob OS show. So we're going to get right into it. Before that, I always want to thank all of our supporters, whether you are a faithful listener via wherever you get your podcasts, whether you interact with us on social media, whether you watch us on YouTube. We definitely want to thank you for your support. If you are taking it a step further and supporting us financially, we definitely want to say thank you. We just got finished recording our live, well, not just got finished, we're currently recording our show live. And if you are a financial supporter, you definitely get that show, get to listen to it live, get to interact with us as we record it, and you get the show a little bit earlier. If you want to get those benefits, definitely go to patreon.com/snoboscast. You become a member of our snobbish community and you will get all of those benefits. So we definitely want to say thank you to those people who are supporting the show financially. Definitely keeps the lights on, definitely makes the show a little bit easier. So having said that, we're going to get right into our show. We always start with the lowdown. We talk all things Apple. And for the past 3 weeks, going on 3 weeks now,
Mhm.
we've been talking about this Apple's rapid security response feature that was supposed to make it easier for us to update, to make it easier for Apple to put out patches as it relates to security, make it a little bit easier for us to download security stuff versus just downloading general features updates. But Apple can't seem to get right when it comes to this rapid security response because I'd say maybe a week or so ago, Apple released a security response to patch critical software vulnerabilities. Say that 3 times fast. But hours after release, the rapid security response, the company had to pull the update as it was found to be causing incompatibilities with several popular websites in Safari. So it seems like Apple just can't get right as far as this security response thing. It's like they can't decide whether they're going to include it in a regular update
Mhm.
because there's just regular features that they're being announced in addition to security patches. And then when they announce one that is just strictly security patches, it doesn't even jive with some of the other Apple features and Apple security. So just wanted to put that out there. It seems like one of these days Apple will get it together as far as these security responses, but not as of yet, not as of recently.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I don't work at Apple, but I suspect that because this is a rapid response, there's a quicker turnaround to get these updates pushed than through their normal protocol process of pushing an update to a phone. I think they probably need to add some more robustness around testing and validating before they push a release. Because what it sounds like to me, we all know that typically when a new update comes out, it goes through a certain level of rigor as to not break people's phones, as to not, cause any, outages or serious issues. And I think maybe with this rapid response, because the expectation is for it to be quick, simple, smooth, that they may be missing some of those key robustness features that go into, pushing a typical non-security type of update. So that's just
Yep,
kind of my
yep.
guess around it.
Or they're, not skirting is not the right word. They are their process of testing and quality assurance may be different
Hmm.
with these rapid security responses as it relate versus just a regular feature wise
Hmm.
update. So I don't know if there's a different type of vertical for the rapid security response as far as testing, as far as
Hmm.
QA, things of that nature. But apparently something is different because
Yeah.
again, they have been having some problems these past couple weeks. So,
And this is a
uh,
pretty big deal of it broke Facebook, Instagram, and Zoom on Safari.
yep,
So
yep.
that's a pretty saying that the browser isn't supported. That's a pretty big miss from the quality folks over there, at Apple with this.
Right. But to Apple's credit, they found out and quickly removed it before a majority of Apple devices downloaded it. But if you did download it, you actually can go in and remove the rapid security response. Real quick, if you go to settings, general, about, and then tapping on the iOS or iPad OS version should reveal an option to remove that security response. So, Apple can't get it right, but they are fixing it faster versus it becoming a major problem. So I
Yeah.
guess, uh, good news, bad news, or no, bad news, good news as far as the rapid security
Right.
responses.
Right.
All right. Moving on to the next story. It seems like ads are finally starting to show up in the App Store. In my opinion, it was inevitable that Apple was going to figure out a way to get paid via ads. They already kind of do in certain aspects, but one of the areas that has remained untouched has been the App Store. There are some people, surprisingly, that actually browse the App Store for apps that they think may be interesting. Now,
Mm,
most of us are kind of know what we want. So we
yeah.
open up the app store and start typing in the name. Once we find the app, we download it. There are some people who actually open up the app store with no clue of anything they want to download. They just want to see what's out there, what's the popular app, what's the top game, what's the most downloaded, what's hot right now. And that's what the app store does a good job as of late of doing, kind of giving you a story, highlighting apps, grouping apps together, things of that nature, right? So that ideally would be a good place for Apple to insert ads. And what I mean by ads, not necessarily like random ads for like medicine or
Mm,
fitness ads. We're talking about,
not like a commercial.
right, right. We're talking about app ads. Like if I'm a developer and I put an app in the app store and I want to make sure it's seen by as much people as possible,
Mhm,
I may create an app store ad for my app to where it'll surface higher into the app store. Similar to where if I was a small business, like if I was a lawn service and I wanted my lawn service, link to show up on Google higher, I may put out a Google ad for my business. That's the same thing, so it seems like you know, ads are starting to show up. I kind of took a quick look and I didn't see any ads. Um, according to the store says with a today, according to the story in 9 to 5 Mac, it says with a today tab ad, your app can appear prominently on the front page of the App Store. The new format will be simplified to feature the app icon, the app name, and the subtitle, the company ad. So even in ad wise, there ain't a lot to your ad.
mhm,
You open up the app store and on that today tab, um, under maybe directly under whatever Apple is promoting as far as its own promotions, right under that, your ad will have the app icon, the name, and the subtitle. So if you're putting out an ad, you better be very succinct about what you want to show. Since the new ad format is simpler and has no screenshots, no detailed information, Apple
mhm,
says getting approval to run ads in this slot is easier. Tapping the ad takes a user to a custom product page featuring advertiser submitted artwork. Of course, Apple has still to approve the icon, name, and subtitle of the ad. So if you get past Apple's gatekeepers, your app will show up like one of the first few things to show up after whatever Apple decides it wants to promote on its own. So just thought
hmm.
that was interesting, for all you developers out there that if you just think if you build it, they will come. You actually have to do some advertising. So Apple is making that actually feasible nowadays.
Give you a little help to get some extra traction and eyes on your app.
Yep, yep, because they are a dime a dozen now. I mean, there's millions and billions in apps, and like
It's
I
so
said,
many apps.
yeah, it's like, and most people just know what they want to. But for those few people that don't really know, just want to see what's out there, you might be able to get your ad in front of them, or your app in front of them, rather. All right. So the next story that I had is, it seems like for new users of the Apple Card, they are really trying to get folks to new users on the Apple Card to sign up for the Apple Card. Speaking of App Store, if you do sign up and are approved for an Apple Card between now and I want to say
The 25th, I
the
think I
25th of
saw?
July.
Yep.
Yep. You can get a 10% cash back on anything you purchase in the App Store. That includes in-app purchases, so not just purchasing an app. If you then upgrade to the ad-free version of the app, you'll get 10% of that. New apps and games. If you download a new app and they cost some money, you get 10% back. New subscriptions through the App Store. So if you sign up for an app that has weekly, monthly, annual subscriptions, 10%. iCloud Plus, Apple Music, Apple TV Plus, Apple Care Plus, Apple Fitness Plus, Apple One, and any Apple TV channels that you purchase via the App Store, whether it be your iPhone, your iPad, your Apple TV, you will get a 10% daily cash back on your Apple New Card. So for those who aren't signed up for it, what it doesn't, which I was
But
kind of,
there's a couple caveats to this too.
yeah, yeah. Well, what I was gonna say, my personal caveat is like I talked a couple weeks ago. I put my daughter on my card,
Mhm.
but it's not a new card. It's just a new user. So
Right.
her purchases don't necessarily qualify. But there is a big glaring caveat to this Apple Card. As Apple notes, you must have zero balance on all your digital Apple accounts, including gift cards and store credits. Otherwise, that balance is used first and then your Apple Card. So basically, like if your mother or your aunt gave you $100 Apple Card to where you can use it anywhere in the Apple Store and in the App Store, that balance is gonna be taken first. So if you get your new to break it down, sign up and get the Apple Card. You
Mhm.
think immediately you're gonna go buy some stuff and get 10%. No, Apple's gonna be like, no, you got this previous balance, so we're gonna eat that up first. And
Mhm.
then, so you have to buy
So
things
instead say you have, you buy something for $200, instead of getting the 10% on the $200,
$200.
you're only getting the 10% on the $100
Right.
because 100 of those dollars from your previous balance is gonna go towards that purchase first.
Or what you'll have to do is eat up that balance on that gift card first. So spend
Mhm.
that $200 and then use your Apple Card to buy something else, and then they'll
Right.
give you 10%.
And that 10% up for the first 6 months, but it has a maximum limit of $100.
Of $100, so you can't go rack up $1,000 in
Yeah,
App
you're
Store
not
purchases.
racking up a ton of cash back. I mean, you could rack up a ton of cash back, but it won't be at the 10%. Probably
Right.
once you hit that $100 limit, it'll
It
go
goes
back
back down
down
to
to the
3%,
normal Apple 3%. Yeah,
which is a lot. Most places are doing 1%,
yeah.
you
And it's
know,
still
uh
free money
right,
technically, so, it's better than not getting any cash back at all.
right, right.
Oh, and it also says any Apple gift card or huh, hardware purchases are not eligible for cash back.
Right, because it's App Store stuff, so software purchases,
Okay, okay,
basically.
okay, okay.
So
I missed that
any
part. Okay, okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
so any,
So you're
music
not
you
going out
buy.
to buy a MacBook Pro and think you're
Right,
getting 10% of cash back on that. That's not
right.
what this is for.
But, people do, if you do the math, if you're on Apple One Premier Family, that's $30 a month, right?
Mm,
If you download or rent or buy movies in the Apple TV, like there's some times where it's like, I know I'm going to watch this movie. I don't know when I'm going to watch it again. So I don't necessarily want to rent it because if I
Mhm.
rent it, it's only available for 24 hours. And if I turn around and want to watch it again, I'm gonna have to rent it again. But even though to buy it is like $20, if I watch it 3 times, then I get my money's worth, so let me go ahead and buy it, right? So if you do that enough, you can rack up some actual money. So being able to use your credit card, your Apple Card to do that, get 10% back, that may be worthwhile. So while it's not hardware purchases, you'd be surprised how much money you can rack up
Uh,
in Apple Music, Apple TV. People do buy music. Every once in a while, I'll buy an album from even though I pay to stream the music, and you
mhm.
can stream it to your heart's content. You can add it to your
Right.
playlist. You can do all these things with it, you know, supporting the artist. If you buy the album, they
Yeah.
get more money versus you streaming their
A
album,
streaming value, yeah.
So every once in a while I'll buy an album, so that counts too. All right, so that is it for the lowdown. We're gonna get right into second string where we talk just random tech. It seems I put in the title is I put Netflix moochers can move your profile to an existing account. So basically, what that means, say for instance, Nica had a Netflix account. She was paying for it. I mooched her account off of her. So she gave me her user ID. She gave me her password. I was able to log into her Netflix, and she's like, "All right, well, you can do that, but I don't want you messing up my algorithm." So under her account, I created my own profile. So I can, when I log into her account, I can log on, I can click on my profile and I can watch all my stuff and it won't mess up
Mhm.
anything that she's watching, right? Well, with this recent Netflix sharing crackdown that Netflix has done, to where they're like, all right, if you ain't a part of the family, if you ain't in that area, we're gonna kick you off of Nika's, Netflix, but I'm like, ah man, that's messed up. But wait a minute, what happened with all the algorithm, the profile?
Everything I've crafted through
Right,
this mooching.
I've crafted the perfect Netflix profile under her account. Am I gonna lose that? And Netflix is like, "Yeah, we're gonna kick you off of her thing, but, as a conciliatory, prize, we'll give you the ability to move your profile to an existing account." So basically what I'll have to do is I'll have to go and create my own Netflix account. Once I get that set up, username, password, whatever the case may be, I can then transfer my profile from Nika's account to my own account. Um,
While keeping all of your
right,
settings, your history, and all that good stuff.
right. Which it makes sense for Netflix to do this because it looks like, according to third party analysts, they have suggested that account signups from Netflix has spiked
Hmm.
since they've announced that they were going to crack down on password sharing. And I can personally kind of confirm because Netflix stock shares have went up
Hmm.
since they've announced this password crackdown. So it seems like Netflix, to much to the chagrin of people who were actually
Of
sharing their
moochers
password,
everywhere.
right? They were upset about it, but it appears for now that Netflix cracking down on password sharing is starting to work because accounts have spiked and their stock price has went up. So Netflix is like, all right, we'll do y'all solid,
We'll do you a solid
right?
since we're blowing up your spot since we're blowing up your spot, we will help you out a little bit.
Right. So again, just to break it down, users will be able to retain their viewing history, their saved titles in My List, game save data, and other settings when they move. Um, the
That's
story
shady.
says, right. When you move out of your parents' place or you break up with an ex, which the second one, I'm pretty sure happens all the time, right? Because I'll be petty
Absolutely.
like that, right? If you break up with me,
I'm
right?
deleting your profile off my account.
Deleting it. I'm deleting your profile and I'm changing my
Changing my
password.
password.
You got
Yep.
that right. So you just messed all the way up because I'm petty like that. So I can imagine that happens all the time. So just wanted to put that notice out there. If you are a family member or a friend who is worried about what's going to happen to your profile if and when you finally get kicked off of Netflix, your friend's Netflix account, you still there's still some moves you can make to ensure that you get to watch Netflix how you watch it.
You're not completely shut out.
Right. All right. So the next story is a little bit more serious
Mm,
as it relates to social media. We've talked about um, Roe versus Wade being struck down and what that was going to mean for technology, what's that's going to mean for companies who, you know, work with personal data. The main question was, well, one of the main questions was going to be, well, since abortion is illegal, will authorities reach out to technology companies to help them investigate and even help them charge people who are quote unquote committing crimes as it relates to abortion now being illegal? Looks like the answer to that, according to Meta, is yes. This story that I'm reading from The Verge, and I'll just read the title. It says Meta provided Facebook chats that led to a woman having to plead guilty to abortion related charges rather. So basically what happened was an investigating officer was investigating a crime. They were suspicious that somebody was um, illegally setting up or going through the process of or even getting an abortion. Of course, I guess the officer was a little savvy. Got word that possibly there may be some information that the woman shared via Facebook Messenger. So the investigating officer served a warrant to Meta,
worst.
and Meta was like, all right, it's a warrant. It looks legit. So Meta gave up unencrypted chat sessions that actually showed the woman and her daughter discussing abortion pills. This happened in Nebraska, and as it related to that investigation, as the results from this investigating officer serving a warrant, and as a result of Facebook giving up this data, a woman actually pleaded guilty to helping her daughter have a medication abortion last year. The charges came again after Facebook, by court order, provided police with evidence that bolstered a Madison County prosecutor's case against her. So, all that to say, I remember when we were having this conversation and you were saying, I don't care who it is. We love Apple all day long,
Mhm,
and Apple has some pretty slick ways as to help women specifically kind of manage their menstrual cycle and all this reporting and all this health data.
mhm,
And you were like, I don't care who it is, I can love Apple all I want to. I'm taking my data off of the well, I'm not entering this specific data into any technology because
mhm,
we don't know what the ramifications are going to be as it relates to courts, laws, and giving up that privacy data. These companies all day long
mhm,
will say it's encrypted, it's encrypted, it's encrypted. We're not going to share your data. We're not going to share your data. We're not going to share your data. But who knows if that's the truth when the rubber meets the road
mhm.
and the law says give up that data? Are
Right.
companies going to say you can have us in contempt or whatever the term analogy
Mhm.
for we ain't giving up the data, or will companies fold? And according to Meta, they are folding.
Right. And so what happened was when Roe was first struck down, many of these middle America, southern states immediately started to put laws into place that would criminalize women who were trying to seek an abortion where they previously were able to. And unfortunately, one of the things that spurred out of that is for people in these states, there were border states that they could go to for abortions, but of course, then you have travel and those types of things. And women were organizing through social media, through these what they assume were
Were
private
safe,
messages,
private, encrypted.
right, to get abortion because a lot of these states you couldn't get that banned that had these bans, you couldn't get abortion pills, Plan B, any of the such. I think it's mystifiprone. Sorry if I'm
I think
butchering
that's the
that.
one that they mentioned in the story, I think.
Right, that they couldn't even get them shipped to their home in that state. And so people were coordinating on social media on how to get the medication to the women who needed them. And a lot of, like I said, organizing, figuring out plans, how to get help to the women who needed it from states where it was still legal to states where it wasn't legal. And they were doing this all on social media. What the issue, there are a bunch of issues with this, but what this boils down to is this one particular prosecutor took it upon himself
Mhm.
to expose the private health data of this 17-year-old girl,
Mhm.
the conversations that she was having with her mother about her health. And these are the same people who always say, it's my right, it's my choice. I should be able to make the choices when it comes to my child's health. I should, we should be able to, you know, take charge over what our kids read, what they learn in school, what they do with their help. We shouldn't be forced to, make our children use these pronouns, those types of things, until it comes to something that they are vehemently against. Then they want to insert themselves. So this particular person, he really did take it to the extreme to say, you know what? I've seen chatter of people organizing
Mhm.
on social media apps. I wonder
Mhm.
if there's something in these DMs or messengers that we could possibly use. And honestly, the guy's a POS3. I mean, he is. And again, this girl who was 17 at the time, her name, her mother's name, her health record is
Mhm.
out there for the world to see. And again, people were in these social media apps thinking that there was some level of privacy when
Mhm.
it comes to their communications
Mhm.
in these apps. So it bolsters to say, and as you mentioned, when Roe was struck down, I immediately deleted all of my information from the tracker apps.
Mhm.
I sent emails to the company saying, I wanted my data removed,
Mhm.
and I haven't put anything in any of those apps because we didn't know the extent that people would go to get this type of information,
Mhm.
to be able to track, your cycle, to see when you potentially could be pregnant. If your app is, insinuating that you may be pregnant, and
Mhm.
then in a short amount of time it turns around that the app starts back up to normal tracking, it's like,
Mhm.
hey, what's the difference? What's happened? We may be able to use that data to
Mhm.
convict you of these ridiculous crimes related to, bodily autonomy. So it's one of those things where people didn't know, but now they do. And it's unfortunate. I'm not sure how Meta stores their data. So if other people have had conversations, if they could go back and delete them, is it
Get it
archived
scrubbed, not just
somewhere?
delete it, like, give
Yeah,
me the data and
right.
don't keep a copy, don't keep the
Right.
history.
Right. So it's a little bit more involved, but what this does show is that your data isn't really safe in these apps. We've said this before, we've known this before. We just didn't, I don't think, realize the lengths that some of these people would go to quote unquote expose a crime when it comes to someone's health. And again, this is just one case. Now that this case has proven quote unquote successful
Now there's
to
precedent.
it's precedent. So
Mhm.
now people can go back maybe and retroactively bring up cases now that Meta has acquiesced and provided the data.
Mhm.
Can they go back and add, search and find more? Can they now put new protocols in place to say you have to give me your messaging conversations so we can scour it to see if we can find any of the
Mhm.
such. So you just, now that the door has been opened, it's not closing. It's honestly probably only going to get, the door is only going to get wider, and more doors are going to show up to be opened. So it's just one of those things that gives us insight into where this is going, and says to people, be very mindful of what you share on these social media apps, what you
Mhm.
share in WhatsApp. I mean,
Mhm.
that's a Facebook company. I know they have this encrypted private thing, but to what extent is the government able to do a subpoena? Are they able to get the unencrypted data? Are there laws? We have states who are have very pervasive laws when it comes to this. So, are they writing laws to overstep to be able to get the encrypted data unencrypted and sent over to them? So,
Mhm.
just be very mindful as you navigate social media. We have like a bunch of new apps that were just released last week. So it's one of those things where
Yep,
more
got that right.
apps are coming, more conversations are coming, and
Mhm.
we truly don't know the extent
We are
of
not we are not reading the terms, of service,
right.
which side note, unrelated, but kinda sorta related. I finally started watching Black Mirror, the new episodes of
The new
Black
season.
Mirror.
Hmm.
Yeah. The very first episode
Hmm.
is a episode of a lady, she's kinda feels like she's stuck in a rut in her life. She doesn't feel like she is the main character of her own story, and which is ballsy for Netflix, but they went with it anyway.
Yeah.
There in this episode, there is a Netflix type app, which is pretty much Netflix, right? They don't just call it that; they call it something else. Streamberry is what they call it, but it's
Mm.
Netflix. And her and her boyfriend are watching Netflix, and then on one of the shows comes her name, and it says Joan is awful, and they hit play, and Netflix kind of walks through her day, not a make believe day, but a
Her
day in
actual
her
day.
life as it happened. So all the things that happened in that day, uh, people were watching, and not it wasn't just for her; it was for everybody. So her boyfriend is sitting there right next to her, and throughout her day, she does some things that he don't agree with, and you're watching it in real time. And some stuff happens at her job, and then she gets fired because everybody kind of knows what happened at her job. And she goes to talk to her lawyer, and she's like, "Well, what can I do? Can I sue these people? Whatever, whatever." And the late and her lawyer's like, "Well, you signed the terms of service, and the terms of service said they can use your name and likeness, and they can do this and that and the third." And she, freaked out because it's like wasn't nothing she could do because
Yeah.
she
She signed it.
essentially put all her information out there. So,
Hmm.
kind of to wrap it back to this story, you have to be careful about what you are signing up for and what you are putting into
What
these
you're
apps.
sharing. Yeah.
Right. And what you're
Absolutely.
sharing. Because these companies, we don't know what company is going to do. Apple may be more resistant, but maybe in certain situations they may give it up. Apple history has shown they have been more resistant to give up the information. But Meta, on the other hand, according to the story, if you go back to some of the story highlights as it relates to abortion, Meta was telling employees to stop discussion abortion at work. Meta kind of downweighted abortion content on its platforms well before the Supreme Court struck down Roe v. Wade. So they were kind of like, if you were talking about abortion or you were putting up news articles as it relates to abortion, Facebook was kind of hiding that information.
Hmm.
So you kind of all that to say, you going back, hindsight is 2020. You
Right.
kind of go back and kind of see
See where the shift happened.
where Meta stood as it related to abortion. Fast
Hmm.
forward to this story, you could say it's not surprising that Meta was like, "All right, we'll give you the data because this is a subject that we have shown that we are on this side
Right.
of the thing."
And it's also important to note too who we are electing into these offices. They can write whatever laws they want. And we've seen a lot of some of the far-reaching laws that have been written specifically as it relates to abortion. So who knows what additional social media laws or privacy um, or data collection laws that these people that we elect into office can write and then enforce. So it's one
Mhm.
of those things you don't know how diabolical these people can get. You have an idea, but at the end of the day, it could it could be a lot worse. And honestly, the way the trajectory of this country is going, it's going towards diabolical. And so it's one of those things where now we don't have the laws, but who knows what we can
Or
have
now
in 4 years, and, they can make these laws retroactive, so they can go back.
or
So it's one
more
of those things where be careful now what you're placing on social media because it could come back to bite you in the ass.
right, and, one thing I was gonna add was, it may not affect you now. It
Right.
may not be a subject that you don't care about now. Like, for instance, we're talking about, we, you know, if you haven't figured it out, we are on the side of women's rights.
Mhm.
You may not be on the side of women's rights as it relates to abortion. You may feel like you may be pro life. So you may be like, yay, good for Meta that they did share this information because now people who, quote unquote, have taken a life away, now they get to come to justice, right?
Mhm.
You may be on that side today,
Mhm.
but the way these laws are being, way these
Hmm.
people are getting voted in, like you mentioned, the way these laws are being written, how fast they are being written, you may not care about this, but come next time
Your
comes
issue could be
around,
next.
your
Abortion
issue is going to
may
be
not be
next.
your issue, but your issue's coming. Trust.
And then you're
It's
gonna be
coming.
all up in arms about how
Mhm.
dare Meta share this information, and we're gonna
We
be
gotta
like,
fight it.
"Well,
Mm-mm, you were
well."
fine. No, no. You were fine. It's similar to what's going on down, with, Death Santis in Florida.
Oh, yeah, right.
White women they're all about DeSantis, and he's our man, he's our guy, but now he's put a permanent ban
On
on
alimony.
alimony,
Mhm.
and the women are not okay. Now, I won't let me specify the white women are not okay because they are the ones who've been writing the articles, they've been protesting, they've been talking about it all on social media. Like, what am I supposed to do now? How am I supposed to live? But you were okay
Where
with
were you
other
when
people's rights being stripped away. But
that
now that is
on
your turn for
uh-huh,
your rights to be stripped away. Now you want someone to come and help you. Now you want to raise the alarms. Now you have an issue. But when it was someone else's issue, you didn't care that
right.
he overstepped. But now
Mhm.
that it's yours, now you want people to come and help you, and that's just not how it works.
Yep, yep. So, overall, like you said, you gotta be cognizant, very, very cognizant on what you
Absolutely.
share, on social media. If it's private, you either keep it to yourself or you
Mhm.
whisper in somebody's ear. Because if you put it up in a
Write on a note, then shred it.
yeah, send a carrier pigeon or something. Because if you put anything on social media nowadays,
It's out
if
there.
people ain't screenshotting it, think of, Zion Williamson, right? You
Ooh,
know,
yeah, we talked about that.
she aired out all his information on social media, and
Put
it's
him
some
on Front Street. My brother was on the Summer Jam screen.
yeah, buddy. So it's something like nowadays, if you there's something, speaking of keeping stuff to yourself, we'll move into the next story. But if you need to keep it to yourself, keep it to yourself.
Because they will get you up out of the paint
Mhm.
with the
Yep,
quickness,
yep.
and this brother learned real quick.
Yep. So that's it for second string. We're gonna move into for the culture. We talk all things social or social media. Like we mentioned, well, I think we talked about this in the pre-show last week as relates to things that were coming in the news or not. I can't remember, but anyway, this has been dominating the internet news for the past week or so, and I kind of
Not just social media, CNN,
media,
USA
media.
Today, the
Mhm.
news.
Yep, the media. This story has been taken story by storm, right? So for those who have been living under a rock and who don't have social media or who don't watch the
Watch
news,
the news.
Kiki Palmer, I'd say last weekend was
Yes,
was in Vegas for the Usher residency.
residency, which I have to go to because I heard it is amazing. I know several people who've gone, and I'm trying to get there
But I've
myself.
also heard the tickets are mad expensive because the
Ah,
resellers have bought up all the tickets and they're reselling them. So that's what I've heard. Yeah. But anyway, it is the
the
show,
hottest ticket in Vegas.
the hottest ticket in Vegas. I'd say almost the hottest ticket in the country because
Yep,
people enjoy themselves. They have a good
it's a good
time.
time.
It's
I've seen him perform
entertaining.
live before, and he's fantastic.
Right. So he's doing his thing. Usher is doing his thing in Vegas. So much so that Kiki Palmer Her and her girlfriends, went to this event. Of course, Kiki Palmer is a celebrity. So when she goes to the event, of course, fellow celebrities are going to take notice. And Usher, historically, has serenaded female celebrities who come to his
To his
show.
show. So Kiki's
So
not the first. She's
she's
just
not the
one in the
first.
long line
Yes, right, right.
of celebrity A-list women who
Who've
completely
been
lost their
serenaded.
stuff. Yes, being
So,
serenaded. Yeah.
Kiki is in Vegas with her girlfriends at this Usher residency, so she's a
Girls'
prime
night
target
out.
for Usher. So he, of course, approaches her, he does his little dance, she, seems to be, what's the word? Blushing.
Smitten,
Yes,
infatuated,
yeah, yeah,
all of those things. Everything
typically
that every Black girl will
every
be with
person.
Usher
If I
singing to him.
was somewhere and Jill Scott rolled up on me, I'd be like, "Oh, wait, wait, wait." Right?
Cheeks all red, just
Right.
flush.
That's right. So, he does his thing, he kinda
She
serenades her, he gives
along
her the
with it,
mic
nothing
and
to
she
yeah.
says a couple notes of the song into the thing. She gives him a hug, they do a little two-step thing, and then she goes about her business, but her outfit that she had on a sheer, um,
Black mesh dress.
dress and
Mhm.
had a leotard or unitard? I
A
don't know what she had.
bodysuit, leotard,
Leotard
all the
under it.
same. Yeah, under it, yes.
That
So she
that
was
was
it was sheer on top, and
right.
you could just see the bodysuit underneath.
Right, looked like
Yeah,
a one-piece swimsuit, right?
yeah.
When she turns around, she has has the thong bikini thing to where you can
Sun's
see
out, buns out.
you can see the cheeks, right? So, of course, that scene in and of itself takes the internet by storm. Everybody's talking about it, can't get enough of
'Cause
it.
she's gorgeous, she's
I
fabulous, her
mean,
body is
and she
bomb.
just, she just had a baby, and I can attest, babies change women's bodies.
Fills you
So,
out real quick.
right, right. So she had all the goods,
Curves. Yeah.
right. So that's all anybody could talk about, including her, boyfriend
Baby
slash
daddy.
father of her child, who chimes in after I don't know how long that all this new as her video came up. I don't know how long, maybe it had to be a day or two, but he jumps into the conversation and has
But you
some
a mother.
comments. Yeah, yeah, has I can't remember what he initially said because I don't even feel like going to look for it because it's so deep now into the news cycle. But he
Right.
makes a comment to her outfit, about her outfit.
Mhm.
Of course, people kind of bounce back and it's like, yo, what are you talking about? Yada, yada, yada. So then he doubles down and says, you're a mom, insinuating that women,
I
mothers,
as the man of the family, of the
right.
house, represent me, all that.
Right, and
Yeah,
he goes on to say, "I'm trying to build, family values, and a man of value, feels like his woman shouldn't be dressing this way." Right? I'm
mm.
paraphrasing. Go look it up, but it pretty much
You
puts
seen
on.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You've seen it. So then, of course, the internet pretty much. I mean,
Oh, drug this man up
yeah,
and down, side to side, all around the timeline. They
right.
dug up tweets,
Hmm.
comments
Yeah,
that had nothing
everything.
to do with, Kiki. This predated her,
Right,
but the
right.
thing is, he
With
went after her
right.
because
So
of
before we
he's
get
saying the
into
way she's dressed.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So before we get into
Okay, I'll let you finish.
let's
Yeah.
get into
Yeah.
how do you feel about, how do you feel about her outfit? How do you feel about her interaction with Usher? How do you feel about the internet's response to it? How do you
Mhm.
feel about the boyfriend's response to it?
Uh-huh.
And then how do you feel about the internet's response
Okay.
to
Yeah.
her boyfriend
Yep. So I'll start with the outfit. She
Mhm,
looked stunning. And as you said, she just had a baby. I think her baby's maybe 3 or 4 months. And
mhm,
Kiki has always been a very slim,
mhm,
thin woman.
mhm,
Now, mama got curves out the
mhm,
yin yang. And she's mentioned that she's like, I was a tomboy. I never had it. And she was like, now I got them. I'm going
mhm.
to flaunt them. And the thing is, this isn't the first sexy outfit that she's worn. Honestly, this isn't even the first sexy outfit that he's posted her. I think
Mhm.
there was one that was dug up. She
Mhm.
had on like a leopard cat suit.
Mhm.
And we know what cat suits do to a woman's body, especially when things jiggle and move.
Mhm.
He's recording this video talking about
Mhm.
how fine she looks, how
Mhm.
good she looks. And
Mhm.
even though the cheeks weren't quote unquote exposed, they were out because, again, a cat suit is very fitting and it
Mhm.
hugs
And she
every
was
curve.
performing for the camera.
And she was performing, he was
Mhm.
hyping her up, and he was like, "Yeah, this is my baby mama." No,
Mhm.
he specifically said, "Look at what my baby did,
Uh-huh.
to her." So
To my baby.
referring
Right.
to the fact that, yes, her body has changed.
Mhm.
Yes, it's bomb. My son did this.
So
I'm
he
loving
brought
this. I
attention
want
to her
y'all to see
body.
it. Correct.
Mhm.
So that was one of the videos that got pulled up, and it was on his feed. He
Mhm.
posted it. So I say all that to say Kiki she did a little sway, a little step. Issa Rae, when she got her serenade,
Kinda did the same thing, right?
full on, yeah, full
Mhm.
on blushing, completely fangirling, because many of us have had this crush on Usher since we were preteens and teens.
Mhm.
Usher is our heartthrob. So honestly, the way that Taraji danced with Usher when it was her time was way more sexual than what Kiki did.
Mhm.
But the thing for me is, I don't think that the issue was her clothing for this
Okay.
man, because we've already seen him go up and go hard about the way she looks now since she's
Mhm.
had this baby. I think his ego was hurt. And then when other men started bringing it up to him,
Mhm.
if that was my girl, I wouldn't let
Mhm.
her be out. If this was me, you ain't
Mhm.
never gonna get nobody that looks like Kiki Palmer, random
Right.
man on the internet. That's first. He seemed to be, maybe he wasn't fine, but he, prior to this Usher residency thing, he's been super chill, pretty much quiet when it comes to their relationship. She interviewed him on her podcast,
Mhm.
and they talked a little bit about their relationship. But it was like, that's one of the things that they as a couple have tried to make sure they do, is to keep some things to themselves, even though they're in the public figure. She's posted him, she's posted the baby, all those things, but there are certain, intimacies of the relationship that they've tried to keep private because they don't want everything out there. Because what happens? People get on social media and roast you at the slightest little thing, and that's what's happened. And Kiki Palmer is everybody's favorite niece since going back to Aquila and the Bee.
Mhm.
People go up for Kiki Palmer. She is one of the most unproblematic, actors, entertainers, and she's so funny. She's very personable,
Mhm.
and basically her
Very
army of
charismatic.
supporters, right?
Mhm.
Very charismatic, very talented. The army of people that go up for that girl since she was a little girl, they brought down the full force of their weight
Mhm.
onto this man.
Mhm.
He couldn't escape it.
Mhm.
And the fact that he doubled down on it,
Mhm.
they were like, "Oh, bet that's a challenge." They went and dug up this man's, I think he had some anti-black tweets.
Mhm.
He had some Trump supporting tweets.
Mhm.
He had a whole bunch of stuff that they went back and dug up. They excavated his Twitter
Mhm.
history and then put it all back on Front Street,
Mhm.
making him look so much worse. He already looked bad for his comments that he had said about Kiki,
Mhm.
but this made him look even worse because some of the things he said were pretty foul. And it's like, yikes,
Mhm.
yikesy. And then I guess him being the person that he is, he deleted, I think, his Twitter.
Mhm.
And then people like, oh, we ran him off. And he was like, ha ha, I'm back. And all he did was took it down to go and scrub his internet
I
feeds.
think he did that on Instagram as well.
Right. He deleted all the pictures of her from his Instagram. In return, she deleted all of his pictures of him. Initially,
Mhm,
she didn't. He was still on there. They unfollowed each
mhm,
other.
mhm.
So, I mean, unfollowing each other on Instagram is basically saying you broke up for the
For
world.
these new kids.
For these new kids, we don't
If
go
you
together no more.
unfollow if you anybody, I mean, if you have a negative conversation with anybody and you go back behind that conversation and
Uh-huh.
unfollow them, you broke up with that
You
person.
broke up. So, yeah. So, I think, you know, the issue to me is not what she had on.
Mhm.
The issue to me is that his ego was hurt. And instead of him having a conversation with his girl, the mother of
Privately.
his child,
Mhm,
he went to the internet and
mhm.
displayed his frail and fragile
And
ego.
and so, um, I wouldn't I wouldn't say I wouldn't go as far as to say frail and fragile
I
ego.
would.
Reason why I say that is because people are insecure, have people have the potential to display insecure thoughts as it
Absolutely.
relates to their partner, right? Whether it
Especially
be
when the partner is the breadwinner, because that's what she
well,
is.
let's not call her the breadwinner. Her,
She works
she,
he works for her company.
okay, but he makes money.
He does. Absolutely. I'm
Um,
not saying he doesn't make money. She just makes a lot more.
and it's not. I don't think it's money. I think he undervalued valuated her status as a person.
Mm.
Um,
'Cause
it's easy,
she is pretty low key outside of when she's doing her entertainment thing. You
right? And
don't really see her
we
out
don't
in the
know how
streets
much
like that.
she's worth and things like that.
Yeah.
So um, I wouldn't go far as to say I wouldn't go as far as to say ego because we are all guilty, especially if you have a spouse or a longtime boyfriend or somebody you care about.
Mhm,
When other people pay them attention, it is very, very easy to have those thoughts and those feelings, right?
mhm.
Especially when your person is a celebrity, and then equally as special as the person that's giving your person attention is also a celebrity, right?
Very celebrity.
So I potentially could have some insecurities when anybody, especially the opposite sex, would pay attention to my wife, right?
Very handsome and very wealthy.
Right. But and
Yeah.
not even that, just some dude at the grocery
Just yeah,
store.
okay, any dude,
You know
okay.
what I'm saying? I'm not saying I would try to control what my wife wears. I'm not saying I would publicly shame her or whatever. Those are the
Yeah, but I think that's the difference. You can still have those insecurities, you could still have those things, but I think the way he went about it is
w-
one of
but
the big issues for
but
me.
even but even in that, right?
Mhm.
w- these kids today are social media kids.
Yes.
They're social media people, right? They air their, just like we talked about in the previous story about being careful about what you
Mhm,
share on social media. We are of that age to where we remember what it was like without social media, and
mhm,
we remember what it was like without smartphones, and we
mhm.
remember what it was like without easy access to everybody.
Right.
These kids, this is all they know.
No. True.
They grow up with technology. They grow up with the ability to talk to anybody by doing this on the thumbs with the smartphones. They can potentially have the ability to
Twitter
access
fingers.
the ability to access anybody,
Mhm.
respond, talk to, reach out to anybody,
Right.
right? And again, when you add that, they have the ability to share that information with me directly with person or over the internet for everybody to see.
Mhm.
Add to that the problem or the potential problem that he saw wasn't that one of his friends said, "Yo, I was at the club last night and I saw your girl at the club and she had on this little tight little outfit that had her cheeks out. And some dude, he had a booth, VIP or whatever. and he seemed to be taking smitten with her, and she didn't go home with him or nothing. She didn't give him the number, but she was chatting him up or whatever. I don't know what that's about. You might want to check that. It wasn't just that. It was the internet. The internet told this dude, yo, your wife or your girlfriend, not your wife, your girlfriend, your baby mama was on the internet, not just at Usher's thing. She was on the internet. I mean, by the time we got hold of it, the internet saw what had happened. So you
Mhm.
add all that up, it makes sense. I'm not saying I agree. I want to get you the impression that I'm agreeing.
Mhm.
It makes sense for him to say publicly, "Hey, what he said," right?
Mhm.
Even I don't agree with it. It was a bad move. It was a terrible move altogether because take it back to myself. If if me and my wife was in a grocery store and she says she's going over to one aisle or whatever, and I'm going to another aisle, and I find what I'm looking for, and I kind of come back, and I come back, and she's chatting up the grocery store dude. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? And I'm looking, and I kind of see he's smiling in her face, and she don't see that he's trying to push up on her because I'm using my dude gar, and I'm like,
Mhm.
he trying to push up on her. She may not see it. He's trying to
Mhm.
push up on her. I'm not gonna go over and be like, yo, what you because that's publicly shaming, right?
Right.
But I can't help to not say, what's
So do you not see, I guess for me the difference is, and maybe it's from, because you have the male perspective. She's at a concert where obviously phones are out. It doesn't seem as if she's trying to hide anything.
Mhm,
He's performing.
mhm,
She's in a long-term committed relationship.
mhm,
He's in a long-term committed relationship. It's not as if he's trying to take her home.
mhm,
He's performing
mhm,
to her,
mhm,
serenading her like he's done a gaggle of other
mhm,
celebrity women. So it's not like he's trying to push up on her or hit on her. He's performing
mhm,
at his concert that she's at, serenading her like he serenades a woman every night at his show.
mhm.
So
No, so
that's where I guess, the difference comes into play. It wasn't as if, they were in a private setting and he ran up on her and he was trying to, push up on her or whatever.
no, I like I said, I agree 100% that he should. It's what I'm saying is it's natural for have those feelings, but how you how you express those feelings
Mhm.
is what makes
Makes or
what
breaks
could
the situation.
what could make or break the situation. And
Yeah.
he clearly, and I'm not even agreeing what he said because you're a
Mhm.
mom thing like that. If it's not out of the realm for women nowadays to wear those type of outfits, right? Because I see them
Mhm.
all the time. It's not even outside of the realm of what Kiki Palmer would wear,
Mhm.
because you've mentioned that she's had these outfits on before, and he is kind of co-signed those outfits because he put them on social media. He tend to approve. You get the impression that he approved of the outfits because he
And
put
the
it
way
out on
she
social
looks,
media,
yeah.
right? Again, that kind of goes back to the reason why he responded the way he responded, not what he said, but the reason why he responded publicly is because previously these we all respond publicly nowadays, right?
Mhm.
And the thought in his mind didn't come t- didn't it didn't dawn on his mind to say, I'm gonna talk to her when she get home,
Mhm.
because he's always, and they have always, even though they mentioned they kind of keep some stuff private, this is clearly one of the things he should have kept private. But
Or
in his
even if he
mind,
saw it, like, made a joke out of it, like, "All right, baby mama," or,
that's what I would have
something to
did.
that effect.
If
But
I
he
if
like, and people thought, "Man, this is a joke, ha, ha, ha," and it was like, "Oh, crap. He's serious." And the
Right.
thing is,
If
being a
what I
mother
would have
doesn't preclude
did,
you being sexy.
right, if that's what I would have said, I would be like, let me
Let
this
me
is
holler at you real quick.
this is
Made light of it or something.
this is what I would have this is gonna be gross. Well, what I would have did, I would have put up a picture of me grabbing some lotion.
And I mean, he really fumbled
He
because
fumbled big time.
she was primed. She was ready. He could have
There's
that could
been
have been a win
jokes
for
in
him.
social media, skits about this exact scenario that tends to work out in a man or a woman's favor, right? What I'm trying to do, again, I'm not trying to give you the impression I agree. I'm not trying to give you the impression I co-sign. I'm just trying to give you how he thought at that moment and why he responded to her publicly, because these
Mhm,
kids nowadays, they don't see social media as private versus public. They see it as this is how you operate. We've seen, like I said, we talked about Zion Williamson, we talked about
mm.
a whole host of celebrities who will hash things out over the internet to where we always say, why are we seeing this? Why are y'all like recently Cameron and who else was it? Cameron and somebody.
Can't
They're
remember.
having beef. I can't remember who it is. I had to go look. But they're having this beef. And the way they talk, it's like, man, you know me since I was 16 and we came up together and
Mhm.
this and that and this and that. And why you putting because these folks, they don't
That's all
see
they know.
social media. What you say?
I said, "This is all they know. Social media is all they
That's
know."
all they know. They don't see public versus private. They see if I need to get to you, I need to put it out on social media. We kind of do it. I do it
Mhm.
when I'm having a problem with my internet. I
I'm
don't call
tagging
Xfinity.
AT&T Uverse.
I tweet
Yes. Very emphatically.
Xfinity is tripping. You know what I'm saying? So even,
I just recently tweeted, "I hate AT&T Uverse. I
right,
hate you," and I added them.
right, because that's what we do. So
Yeah.
the problem is his response,
Yeah.
saying that you're a mom and saying you have values and
He
saying you're
set the
trying to
values as a
as the leader
household.
of this
Yeah.
family, I'm trying to do this and that and the third.
Now he ain't got no family.
All of your evidence shows the
Yeah.
exact opposite of
Opposite.
that. You're saying she's a mom. Well,
Mhm.
you didn't have a problem when you took that
Mhm.
picture of her naked, holding
Mhm.
her when she's holding her
Boobs.
body parts.
Yeah.
You didn't have a problem with that. You didn't have a problem with her shaking her butt in this tight cat suit or whatever.
Mhm.
You didn't say nothing about
Any
she's a mom
any of
then.
the other stuff. Yeah.
Right. But
But
now
now
all of a sudden you pick this
you a
stunt
mother.
too. Talking about you a man of values. You are a baby daddy. That flies in the face of all values
You are
because
not a traditionalist, and that's the thing. I think he said in the statement, a traditionalist. If you were a traditionalist,
you
you
would
would
have
have
married that
married
chick
her
before you
first,
got put a baby in her,
and
right?
then she would have had the baby.
Right. So
Yes.
it's very the point that I don't agree with at all is the hypocrisy, right?
Yeah.
The hypocrisy of his what he said, right? I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I get where he was like, let me fire these tweets off real quick. Because again, we all have insecurities as it relates to our
Twitter fingers.
couples. Yeah.
Yeah.
He underestimated her status.
I think that's he underestimated how famous she really is.
So when
Bro, she's really famous.
Right. So if my wife got serenaded by Usher and she was in some sheer outfit with her butt hanging out, internet wouldn't have saw that. They wouldn't have cared. It's just some chick. Or maybe
Mhm.
so, but it wouldn't have went crazy like it
Like
did.
it
It
did.
seems
Yeah.
like the whole entire internet saw this outfit and his security already he already got an insecurity, right?
Yeah.
Ramp it up by 1,000,
Yeah.
by 1,000,000, by
Yeah.
millions. And it's like
And the whole world, you got CNN talking about this.
I can't
Bruh.
he couldn't sit on it. He couldn't sit on it until she got back home, which again, like I said, not only could he not sit on it, and then the way he chose to respond, it was just
Make
like,
a joke at
"Bruh."
it, bro.
Yeah.
Or you could have said, "Come on home," or there's so many other options. But I don't know if you talking about Usher, in this whole thing. like, I think The Simpsons did a thing
Mhm,
on Usher,
mhm.
and the guy, one of the producers for the Boondocks, in one of the episodes, I think it's called Tom, Sarah, and Usher.
Yeah. Uh-huh, uh-huh.
It's
Usher's in
based
that, yep. Mhm,
it's based on his true real interaction with his wife and
mhm.
Usher at a restaurant.
Yep,
He
I
did,
saw it.
like, a background on it, and it was his voice of the waiter in the restaurant. Wouldn't
Mhm,
happen
I
to be
saw that clip.
though, but it was actually him, and he said, "When we were leaving the restaurant, Aaron Magruder was like, we're putting this in the show, right?" And
Mhm,
sure enough, they wrote it in the show. So it's not that, you know, Kiki is some exception to this rule.
mhm.
She is one of many
And
women
it
who would
wasn't they
fall
didn't
putty.
do like, even if my girlfriend or wife was Keke Palmer and, she was being serenaded by Usher, I didn't see anything wrong with what her response or what he did.
And
She
they
gave
were
him a
making it
hug.
seem like she was giving him a lap dance, and I was
Mm,
like, "Let me go see." And all she did, they did like a little sway, a little
right.
two-step, nothing that she probably wouldn't have even felt comfortable doing in front of him. And the thing is, this is the Usher show. Smartphones are everywhere.
Right.
This was being filmed. This is
Mhm.
undoubtedly going to hit the internet. And
Yeah.
she wasn't, cowering or hiding or making it seem like she was
She
doing
was playing a
something bad.
role. She was playing a role.
She was being a performer
Mhm.
with another performer.
Right. And again, I think he just severely undervalued how popular
He
she is.
forgot this Keke Palmer baby, that's what he forgot.
Right. And, so the internet eviscerated him
Mm,
so much
it was
so it's like,
delicious.
you ain't paying no bills. They went from not he went from not being a breadwinner to being like, "She paying all the bills and you ain't paying no bills," and it's like, "Bruh, your argument as to being the leader of the family was was just struck down because, which is a shame, right? Because a lot of people were saying, "Well, you ain't paying no bills. How you got the nerve to tell her what to do? You ain't paying no bills." But even still, though, right?
If he
If he
wasn't
was
already
paying,
insecure, we already knew bro was insecure.
right, and not just
This
that,
he Yeah.
and not just that, right? Because I guess he brought it upon himself.
Yeah, he did.
But to me, it's still not unfair, but the comment was, "Well, you can't tell her what to do, you ain't paying no bills." The response to that would be, "Well, if I was paying bills, could I tell her what to do?" Which no, you should be, I think this is the same thing with Jonah Hill. I think Jonah Hill's in some hot water
Oof,
because he put out a list of qualifications onto what he expected out of his wife or his girlfriend or
girlfriend.
whomever, and
That
it
was and things that were part of her job. She's a surfer, she's a
and
professional
not just
surfer.
that, right? It
Yeah.
kinda ties in with Keke Palmer
Yeah.
because he met her Jonah Hill met her as a surfer. He was
Right.
probably attracted to the fact that she wore tiny outfits and clothes and tight
And people were
outfits.
drawn to her and
Right, right. You were drawn to her because of those things,
you
and now
came
you
after
got
her.
her.
If you didn't want those things, didn't you know that
Right.
before you met her? Then
Right.
why did
So
you
now
pursue
all of a
her?
sudden you with
Yeah.
her, and now you want to change those things. Kind of the same thing with,
The
Keke Palmer's
patriarchy.
boyfriend in the sense that you wanted to be the benefactor
Mm.
of her
Solely.
celebrity, of her
Solely. Yeah.
right, but you didn't want anybody else. And then when other people were attracted to that, you wanted to then change,
Shut it down. Change the rules
which
in the
is
middle of the game.
again, which is unfair
Yeah.
both ways. I just he just walked right into the argument of you don't pay no bills, right? Again, like I mentioned, you know, does that mean that if he gets to pay the bills, he gets to tell her what to wear? The answer is no. But
The
you
roasting was
lose
hilarious. Yeah.
you lose the
You
ability.
started this, friend. You
You he
started this. So
he
these are the
lost the ability
consequences
to
of your
have that
actions.
argument
Absolutely. He lost all credibility.
when he publicly tried to shame her for what she was wearing
Right. He's
because
still a
the
buster.
entire internet got a hard on from Kiki Palmer and her cheeks. And it's just like, bruh, there's better ways to go at that, right? But again, like
Better
I
ways.
mentioned, overall, I would argue with people who say, he's his ego, messed it up. I don't necessarily believe that. I do believe the ego probably maybe caused him to write what he wrote, but the response, you know, people are jealous, people are insecure, and when you add that up, celebrity, and then you throw in social media, I can see how all this thing unraveled. That's all.
Yeah, I'm putting it all in there. Insecurity, fragility, and ego. All of that equals Busta, which he is to me.
All right. So that's enough of that. Hopefully, they can move on. But it's a shame that they've social media elite, social media wise, and broke
Broke
up.
up.
Now they gotta try to mend some things, if not get the relationship back, if for the sake of
Yeah.
their child, who they've gotta, you
And he's a
know,
baby. He's 3 months. He's a literal baby.
right. So they gotta figure that out. Luckily, he's a 3 months old, so he
Yeah.
hopefully the internet's gone that deep by the time he gets old enough to get a phone to not have to relive this. But at the same time, like I said, they got to figure out what they're gonna do,
They
and it's
gotta
going to be
co-parent.
impossible
Yeah,
because, right? You were saying he's a buster.
absolutely.
He's fragile, insecure,
Yes.
weak ego. That's going to make it, and that's what a lot of people are saying, right? That's going to make it hard for Kiki Palmer to take him back. Because
Yeah,
if she takes him back, everybody's
yeah.
gonna be like, "Why you with that ego buster?" Right? But technically, he just spoke out of turn, and he, th- that's the least of what people have done and taking people back, right?
Yeah,
People have cheated, people have domestically abused people, and people have taken them people back, right?
yeah.
But the fact that she is so popular,
And he was so summarily dragged, and the things and you know
it's
what?
going to look bad on
In
her for
yeah, and in addition to that, if even if we put aside, his comment about Usher, the other things that came out of the Twitter search for things that he said, that just adds more onto the case of why, if she took him back, she may
looks
be
kind of,
harmed
yeah.
professionally
Mhm,
when it comes
mhm,
to this. So
right, so
he messed them up.
yeah,
He put them both in a trajectory that is, not great, no matter how
yeah,
you slice it and dice it.
yep, so, alright, well, good luck to them in the future, I guess. Alright, so
Good luck
that's it
to
for the
you.
culture. We're
Yep.
gonna move into the hookup. I don't know if I mentioned this in our recorded show, but, I am doing some traveling, next week, and doing my research, I wanna make sure I'm taking the best pictures and videos as possible on my trip. So I did read this little tip, and I just wanted to share it with you on how to make sure you're taking the best possible videos for your phone. So I found this setting that, in my suggestion, you should record at as far as your iPhone videos. The setting that you should record at is 1080p HD at 60 frames per second. When you put your camera in that video format, that's going to ensure with the 1080p, because you could record in 4K, which is a higher resolution than 1080p. But at 4K, there aren't too many devices out there. Even though 4K is popular, if you're taking a video and you want to make sure as many people can see it as possible, you want to make sure it's at a resolution that most people can see. I can guarantee everybody has a phone or a tablet or a computer screen or a TV that has a 1080p resolution. I can guarantee everybody has 4K, right? So
Mhm.
that's the reason why I suggest 1080p HD, because you are guaranteed as many people are going to be able to view it. And 60 frames per second literally crams more frames per second in the video, to where that's going to ensure the, I call it buttery, but it's a
Mm,
smoother video. There'll be less lag or less artifacts when people move, especially when they start to move fast. Like if you're, you know, filming dolphins, or you're on a
mm.
speedboat or whatever the case, or you're filming some action. 60 frames per second are going to cram more frames into the video to ensure that the objects are smooth, right? So the
Nice.
way you put your camera in 1080p HD at 60 frames per second on your iPhone is to go into iPhone settings, go into camera, and then go into record video. There, you're going to get a multitude of options. Like I said, you're going to get it 4K, you're getting all these other formats. I suggest you select 1080p HD at 60 frames per second. Again, that's going to ensure more people can watch it, and it's going to ensure that the video is as smooth as possible. So that is my tip for the week. Nika, if you don't have anything else, you can tell the folks where they can find you.
You can find me at Tech Savvy Diva on all of the social media platforms.
All right. And you can find me all over the internets at Brother Tech. That's BrothaTech. You can interact with the show. You can find our latest episodes. You can support the show financially. You can find all those things by going to Snob OS Cast. That is our home to where we post the videos. We post all the links to your download the show, and you can support us financially. So if you do that, make sure you get all the information there. Until next week, we are out. Peace.
Bye, everybody.